Tired of that same humdrum vacation spot? Saw pictures of those quaint cottages and majestic castles in jolly old England? Want to change your travel plans? We offer Escape. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of peaceful countryside or high adventure. Tonight we find ourselves in an English courtroom after a less than idyllic experience across the pond in merry England. It certainly was not a vacation trip we bargained for.
Hear ye, hear ye. As a servant of His Majesty's government, as royal mediator for psychic disputes between the living and the dead, I declare this hearing to be in session.
It sure did surprise me to find out the British government had a department like this one.
It was established, Mr. Otis, by an act of Parliament in 1861, Mr. Churchill dissenting. I have here a complaint filed by Mr. Hiram B. Otis, formerly a manufacturer of beaver-bristled toothbrushes in Cobbin Creek, Michigan, and West Virginia, USA, retired, versus Sir Simon de Canterville, the 5th Lord Canterville, Knight of the Bath, Knight of the Garter, Knight of January 16th, etc., etc., deceased, and existing at present as a ghost. Are the witnesses all present?
Well, I'm certainly here, if you're looking at me. I'm Mrs. Otis.
A pleasure, madam.
I'm here too, sir.
That's our daughter, Virginia. And them's the two twins at the end of the table.
Ah, yes, indeed. Manly little fellows.
Right in your eye, Mac. Yeah, Roger.
Yes, indeed. Are you Lord Canterville? Are you with us?
Certainly. Did you imagine the spear trumpet was being supported in the air by some supernatural being?
How silly. After all, he's a supernatural being.
I regret the necessity of asking you to use such an inconvenient device, Lord Canterville, but traditionally a ghost must always speak through a spirit trumpet.
I have never yet violated an English tradition, sir.
Most commendable. Also, since you are invisible to us, the trumpet helps place you, as one might say.
I have no objections to it, but I do resent very much being hailed into this court on a trumped-up charge after more than 350 years of brilliant and successful haunting.
You just made the mistake of trying to haunt the wrong folks, bub.
Go on, hit him, Pop. Yeah, bust him one.
Now, let's not lose our tempers. Keep calm. Reason and justice are bound to prevail.
Well, the whole thing is that there ain't nothing in my lease that says anything about Castle of Canterville Chase being haunted. What the real estate agent down in London might have told me is neither here nor there. It ain't in writing.
I shall make a note of it, Mr. Otis.
What I want is for this thing to get out of the place and stop bothering us. I won't call him a ghost, because there ain't no such thing. I don't believe in ghosts.
Mr. Otis, suppose you tell me in your own words just when this trouble first started.
Well, you might say it started when the missus and me decided to come over here and get ourselves one of those country estates. We figured it wouldn't do the kids no harm to get themselves a little culture and find out how the other half lived. So I leased this here castle of Canterville Chase, and the trouble started the first day we got here.
I don't see any sign of a living soul around.
Wait, Somebody's gonna open it.
Good afternoon.
Howdy. My name's Otis, Hiram B. Otis. This is my wife. We're the new leasers.
Ah, yes. I was advised that the castle was to be let. I bid you welcome to Canterville Chase.
Well, thanks. The place looks a little more run down than I expected, but I guess it's nothing paint and elbow grease can't take care of.
I dare say. Would you care to come in?
Sure, that's what we're here for. Go ahead, Mother. Come on, kids, we're home.
I am Mrs. Umney, the housekeeper. I trust my services will be satisfactory to you, as they have been to 3 generations of Cantervilles.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get on to our little ways in no time at all, Mrs. Umney.
Possibly so.
Hey, Pop, are we really gonna live in this old barn?
Yeah, Pop. Looks like it might fall apart any minute.
No, I think it's built solid all right. Needs a little modernization, that's all.
Oh, I love it. Just the way it is. It's thrilling and exciting and breathtakingly romantic and just so...
Now, Virginia, you know what Mother told you. No boys until next year. You're still too young.
Yes, Mother.
Maybe we better shut this door. It feels a little drafty. Needs some oil.
If you would be so kind as to follow me, the library is this way.
Okay, let's go.
Library? What are we gonna do, Pop? Check out some books?
Silly. A library in England is just like a front parlor back in Cabin Creek.
Then how come they don't call it that?
Oh, I think it's all so thrilling. Why, it's like a movie set.
Aw, nuts.
Now look here, young man. I brought you 2 young'uns over here to get yourselves some culture. And I want you to start scrapping that American slang right now. Do you get me?
Sure, Pop. We'll be cultured before you know it. Roger.
This is the library.
Oh my, what a nice big room.
Yeah. It's pretty dark, though. Haven't you got any electric lights in here?
Unfortunately, yes. Is that better, sir?
It certainly helps. And as soon as I put some bright chintz curtains up at the windows and scatter a lot of magazines around, I'm sure the place won't be nearly so gloomy.
That's right, Mrs. Umney. You just keep your eye on the missus. She'll turn this old castle into a real American home before you know it.
I'm quite sure she will.
Yes, sir. Dear old Mary England. Right back where my ancestors started from. Why, that fellow in the painting over there over the fireplace just might be my great-great-grandfather, if you only knew it.
An extremely remote possibility, sir, if I may so suggest. That gentleman happened to have been the 5th Lord Canterville, who died here in 1575 under very tragic circumstances, and whose ghost still haunts Canterville Chase.
Oh, now look, sis. Don't you start trying to give me that same old phony baloney.
I can assure you, sir, that the ghost of Lord Canterville still walks these ancient halls, emitting terrible sounds of anguish and materializing upon occasion in hideous and fearsome guises. He appears most commonly just before the death of some member of the family.
Well, so does the family doctor. But he ain't no ghost.
Hiram, look! Something has been spilled all over the rug here in front of the fireplace.
Yeah. It looks like ketchup.
That stain happens to be blood.
Well, whatever it is, it looks very untidy here. Please have somebody clean it up right away, Mrs. Umney.
Lady Otis, that fresh blood stain has been here for more than 350 years, since the night Lord Canterville cut the throat of his wife, Lady Lenore, on this very spot, following a slight domestic argument. The stain can never be cleaned.
Nonsense. 350 years? Mother, do you have that bottle of Durkenheimer's super colossal spot remover in your purse?
Oh, of course, Hiram. It's here somewhere. I'd never think of going anywhere without it.
Durkenheimer's will do the job all right.
Oh, here you are, Hiram.
Oh, thanks. Now, let's have a try at it.
Please, sir, I beg of you. Such rash actions are sure to cause dire consequences.
I thought so. It's coming off slick as a whistle.
Heaven preserve us!
Yeah, somebody trying to be funny. Cut it up out there before I find you and wail the daylights out of you. Anyhow, you sound like a sick cow. Hiram, the lights went out.
Hey, what happened?
That was no thunder, you dope. The ghost done it.
No, dear. You mean the ghost did it.
The ghost did not did it. Done it. I mean, do it. Where are those confounded candles? They were right here on the mantel a minute. Oh, here they are. There.
Look, Mother! It's Mrs. Umney lying on the floor. She's fainted.
Oh, dear. I thought she looked sort of peaked. Probably doesn't eat enough.
Fainted, eh? Well, be sure and notice how long she's unconscious. We'll take it out of her salary at the end of the month. Son, kick that door shut, will you? I feel a draft in here.
And I therefore maintain, sir, that these peasants have demonstrated by their testimony their own blame for the entire affair.
Hey, Pop, what's a peasant?
Aw, some kind of bird, you know.
Everyone had always accepted me, unquestionably, as the ghost of Canterville Chase, until these foreigners moved in.
What's he mean, foreigners, Pop? He's the one that's a foreigner.
The tradition of British castles being haunted is well established. By refusing to accept that tradition, this Otis individual precipitated the whole unfortunate affair, and I demand that his complaint be withdrawn without further discussion.
Well, of course.
Order! Order and dignity, please. I'm afraid, Lord Canterville, that being an American, Mr. Otis cannot be considered bound by tradition. Suppose we get on with the testimony, sir. I presume that following the desecration of the blood stain in the library, you decided upon some form of retaliation.
Indeed I did. I was inflamed with fury. So foul a deed had never been done in Canterville Chase before. Visitors for centuries had come to view that famous blood spot with awe and respect. But no one before had ever dared to touch it. Late that night, I began to glide about through the dim corridors of the castle, endeavoring to think of some hideous and ghastly punishment for these stupid mortals. After an hour, I had it. I would materialize before them in my justly famous guise of Gaunt Gideon, the green corpse in phosphorescent chains. It was in this role, if you recall, that I drove Lady Abernack completely insane, and some 20 years later caused the young Earl of Dorchester to leap screaming from Watchtower and dash out his brains in the moat. It had always been most effective. At precisely midnight, then, Gaunt Gideon entered the corridor leading to the family bedchambers.
You go on away now, whatever you are. If you want to talk to my missus, you come back at a decent hour.
Here, take this bottle with you. Well, even if you don't want it, it wasn't very nice to break the bottle.
Hey, it's the ghost. Boy, get a load of that makeup.
Yeah, just call him Wilson's.
Yeah, real tender maid. What a ham.
Here, take a couple of these pillows. Let's give him what for.
Roger, now?
Now.
Hey, they go right through him.
Yeah, give him the other two. We got him on the run.
Boys, stop that this minute. How many times have I warned you about throwing pillows?
Aw, we didn't hurt him none.
Hey, Mom, did you hear us? We were using an English expression.
Yeah, we said we were giving him what for.
I guess we're getting cultured already.
Well, that's fine, dears. Now, both of you, hop into bed right this minute. Good night, dears.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, Mom.
I had never been so insulted in my whole death. After a brilliant career of haunting for more than 3 centuries, then to be offered a bottle of oil to have pillows thrown through me. I sat in one of the secret dungeons of the castle for the rest of the night, burning with rage, and glowing alternately blue and green. By the first crowing of the cock, however, I had plotted my revenge. I vowed that 3 nights later, I should appear in the terrible role which once had caused the Duke of Munsey to stab himself to death in the rose garden on the eve of his wedding, and had placed Lady Berkeley under the care of 3 strong physicians for the remainder of her natural life. I had no doubt whatsoever but what the entire Otis tribe would be driven into foaming madness when they saw me as Headless Herbert, the gory cadaver of Hampstead Heath.
Very well, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we get on with the hearing now? As you were saying, Lord Canterville, you decided to appear to the Otis family in your hideous guise of Headless Hubert, the gory cadaver of Hampstead Heath.
Precisely. And I proceeded then to make my preparations.
How come he gets to do all the talking here? I'm the guy that filed the complaint.
Yeah, you tell him, Pop.
Sure, give him what for.
Now, no emotionality, please. I am sure, Mr. Otis, that a man of your fairness will want to give the ghost, that is Lord Canterville, every possible opportunity to explain his motives.
I didn't realize a ghost had motives. I thought they just did what they did because they, well, did. That's all.
There is no such thing as a ghost.
Oh, I know there isn't, Hiram. I was just talking.
Quite so, Mrs. Otis. And now, Lord Canterville, you may proceed with your testimony.
My eternal gratitude, sir. Very well. Having decided upon one of my most horrifying roles, I did nothing for 3 days in order to lull the family into a false sense of security. But late on the evening of the 3rd day, I prepared for action. After first performing the necessary mystic maneuvers, I repaired to the library where the Otis clan had gathered following dinner. It was a perfect night, damp and gloomy, with only a small fire flickering dimly in the hearth. It was necessary to put out the lights in the room, and this I did in my usual manner, by means of a thunderbolt.
Oh, dear me, Hiram. It's happened again.
Yeah, Doggone the electrician that put in the wiring in this house anyway. Every time you turn around, the lights go out.
Oh, that's not it, Papa. It's the ghost. I'm sure of it. It's a sign he's going to appear.
Guess again, sis. He's already appeared. Yeah, he come right through the wall. I guess we scared him last time. He's put on a suit of armor.
Yeah, and he's carrying his head in his hand. Hey, Pop, how can he moan like that when he ain't got no head on?
I absolutely refuse to take any part in this. A ghost is nothing but a figment of the imagination.
I don't know, Hiram. He certainly looks real.
Bosh. He doesn't exist because he can't exist. And that's all there is to it.
I do wish the lights would come back on. I had this sock almost finished.
Oh, he sounds so unhappy. I'll bet he's a victim of lost love.
His own fault. Murdering his poor wife like that. Then I understand her brothers killed him, or so Mrs. Umney told me.
Well, you see, it was a tragedy. A killing in passion. Oh, I think it's so exciting. It's so...
Virginia?
Yes, Mother.
How is Mrs. Umney, by the way?
Resting very well, so the doctor told me this morning. They still haven't let her out of the straitjacket, of course. I suppose if we were back home, we wouldn't want him around at all. But here in an old castle like this, he makes the place seem sort of homey.
Confounded nuisance. That's what it is.
Hey, Mom, do you care if we shoot at him with our bean shooters?
Yeah, it won't hurt him. He's got armor on.
All right, boys, but be careful of the windows.
Okay, Mom, you ready?
Roger.
All right, now!
Bullseyes.
Come on, let's give it to him.
Hey, we got him on the run.
Come on back, you coward!
Look, he went right through that door without opening it.
Boy, I wish I could do that.
Hey, wait till he sees what we put down there in the hall.
He saw it all right.
Yeah, it must have scared him half to death.
Well, that's nice. The lights are back on. Maybe I can get this sock finished after all.
Hey, why didn't we think to get out the movie camera?
Yeah, we could have took some swell movies and sent them back home.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, gosh, are we stupid?
Settle down now, boys. The fun's all over for tonight, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of other chances to take movies of our friend. Maybe Father will help you set up the camera if you... Hiram? I declare I never saw such a man in my life to go to sleep in his chair after dinner.
I am quite sure you can understand my feelings after such a night as that. Can perhaps sympathize a bit. To be attacked by ruffians armed with bean shooters. I, Lord Canterville, who never drew a sword lest it be against a foe of noble blood. To be ridiculed, ignored, even disbelieved. And finally, when my humiliation grew too great to bear, to encounter that horrible monster lurking in the dark corridor.
Aw, it was only an old jack-o'-lantern.
Sure, we made it out of a pumpkin and put a candle in it.
So I discovered when dawn came. But the damage was already done. My nerves were jangling as though I had seen a ghost.
Well, how ridiculous. After all, you are a ghost.
Quite a different matter, I assure you.
He's not a ghost. Whatever he is, he's not a ghost.
I warn you, if this churlish beggar makes that statement once more, I shall...
Now, none of that. We must be calm about this.
Calm? How can a man of spirit be calm after being harried from pillar to post by such a family as this one?
Well, you started it. It's your own fault. If you'd have left us alone, we'd have left you alone.
I had to haunt you. Haunting is my career. I'm a ghost.
Ain't no such thing.
I have haunted Canterville Chase for 3 centuries, my good man.
Don't say nothing about it in the lease.
Lease? You may take the lease, sir, and you may...
Please, gentlemen, I am sure that in the end reason will prevail. Perhaps you might continue with your testimony, Lord Canterville.
It becomes a bit painful when I recall my final crowning effort. If you will bear with me...
Of course, we understand.
Very well, then. After such a terrible treatment, I dared not venture from my dungeon during the next 3 nights. I sat and shivered, not knowing whether my privacy might be invaded even there. But while I shivered, I thought. And gradually I began to realize my 2 great mistakes. First, I had approached the family when they were together, instead of separate and alone. And secondly, I had merely moaned and groaned, but not actually spoken to any of them. I resolved to correct these errors that very night. I would slip into their bedchambers one by one, whisper awful things into their ears as they cowered in their beds. And I was quite sure that the happy morning sun would find in Canterville Chase 5 raving maniacs. Virginia was the first in my plan, and since she had said a few kind things about me, for her, I decided to use one of my less hideous roles. That of Homer the Hermit, or the Man Without Flesh. I floated through her keyhole and shook her gently by the shoulder.
What's the matter?
Wake up, Virginia. Wake up and look, and scream.
Huh? What's going... Oh, it's you. Hello.
Are you not terrified? Quaking with fear?
Hey, you can talk just like people.
I am a creature of doom, Virginia. Out of the cold grave and the blackness of night.
Tell me something. Did you really love your wife?
What?
I mean, when you were both alive. You know, before you killed her. Was it a crime of passionate love?
My dear young lady,
Well, Mother says I shouldn't talk about things like that. But they're so exciting. Don't you think so?
I have no idea. What is that scent in the room?
Like flowers, you mean? It's my perfume. Real 20 carat. Mother says it's too old for me, so I only wear it when I go to bed. Do you, like it?
I really must be going.
Oh, you can take on all kinds of shapes, can't you? Why don't you turn into a prince right now and climb up to my window? Wouldn't that be thrilling?
Yes, no. I mean, I have to leave now. Shouldn't be here. My mistake, you know.
Oh, no, don't go. Just when I'm all waked up. Well, tell me about your wife. Did she nag you all the time? Is that why you cut her throat?
My dear young lady, please. Is nothing sacred. I required several minutes to compose myself before approaching the chamber of Mrs. Otis, and my confidence by then was somewhat shaken. She awoke instantly as I came near her bed, this time in my famous role of Cold Meat Cuthbert, the tattered shroud with the rolling eyeball.
I'm so glad you dropped in. I've been worrying about those moans and groans of yours.
All is ended now, madame. Prepare to meet thy final fate.
Well, I declare if you're not actually talking?
The empty tomb awaits thee. Come.
Oh, stop that silliness now. What I was saying, I remember how Uncle Theodore used to moan that same way, and it turned out to be his stomach.
His what?
Stomach. What really cured him was Dr. Dobell's capsules. There's a bottle of them there on the table that I got out of the trunk for you. Now, the best way is to take 2 before breakfast and then well, I declare, he's vanished.
I don't care if you are piecemeal Percy, the drawn and quartered fragments. It's the middle of the night and I'm sleepy, so you get on out of here and quit bothering me.
But look at me, gruesome and horrible. Are you not filled with loathing and horror? Are you not paralyzed with terror?
Doggone it, I'll show you whether I'm paralyzed or not. Now then, take a look at that. That there's a .45 caliber horse pistol. And if you ain't dead already, you're darn soon gonna be. Now get out, do you hear me? Beat it.
I still had one ace up my sleeve. A role so fearsome that I had not seen fit to use it since 1823, when it had caused Count Romanic to draw out his sword after one glance at me, and methodically to cut off his own head. For those unspeakable little monsters, the Otis twins, I resolved to appear in the guise of two-headed Terence, the blubbery thing in the glass jar. Quietly, I approached their chamber, and as I drew near, I saw that the door stood slightly ajar. I reached out my hideous hand and gently pushed it open. Poltergeist! By Beelzebub! The poltergeists are back!
Oh boy, the old bucket of water trick. And did he fall for it?
No, you mean the bucket fell for him.
Sounds licking for me!
What's the matter, Mac? Got your bones wet?
Calm yourself, old boy. Have a lifesaver.
You little monsters! You double-dyed, unexpurgated, pusillanimous, orthocephalic little monsters!
Hey, this character can talk.
Yeah, I wonder what he's supposed to be this time.
I don't know. He looks like water-soaked Walter, the drowned madman.
A container of water placed above the door! Only a depraved idiot would play such a foul prank!
Yeah, we were lucky, that's all.
Sure, we were scared you might come through the wall instead of the door.
Can the two of you not realize that I am a hideous sight? Are you terrified to the point of insanity?
Nah, we used to sit through horror pictures twice.
What do you think we are? Squares?
Go on, do some more tricks. Make like that Hound of the Cantervilles or whatever its name was.
Sure, turn into a dog and we'll feed you a can of Strong Hearts.
The last straw! A dog! To be ridiculed, insulted, manhandled, and then asked to turn into a dog? I cannot go on any longer. I simply cannot. This is the end.
Very well then. Since no one else seems to have anything more to add, I believe we can assume the testimony to be complete.
Good. Then suppose you order this thing to get out of the castle and stop bothering us.
I, my good man, have lived in Canterville Chase for over 350 years. You are the one who is trespassing.
I got a lease, though, and you ain't.
Bah! Take your lease and get out, I say. Allow someone to move in who is willing to be haunted. Someone who observes the proprieties of such things.
I know my rights, and I ain't gonna budge 1 inch.
Go on, hit him, Pop.
Yeah, break his arm. Go ahead.
Please, gentlemen, please. I am quite sure we can settle this matter to the satisfaction of all concerned, though I fail to see how at the moment.
I just told you how.
Mr. Otis, now there are a great many other lovely castles in the English countryside, and I have no doubt but that you would...
No, you don't. We are sold on this one, except for the electricity and the plumbing, of course.
Oh, dear me. Lord Canterville, let me show you some wonderful estates.
No.
There is one lovely empty castle in Sussex, for example.
I would not be dead haunting a castle in Sussex.
A beautifully dilapidated place, and with only one other ghost now in residence, that of the Lady Lucretia de Buxom built.
Lady Lucretia? I say now, was she the one with the wart on?
No. Lucretia was the younger sister.
Ah, yes, I remember now. There was one night after a tournament at Kenilworth that, yes, an utterly ravishing creature as I recall.
Oh, yes, indeed. A girl of truly remarkable spirit.
So little Lucretia is all alone down there in Sussex, eh? Died and became a ghost, a phantom, a wraith. The wraith of Lucretia. What a delightful picture that conjures up.
Then you'll go, Lord Canterville?
My dear fellow, I am practically aboard a spirit plane at this very moment. However, I do have one farewell remark to make to the Otis tribe. It is simply this.
Of all the nerve.
Furthermore, the roof on the castle leaks.
Well, now, that takes care of that. I believe we can safely say that after all these centuries, the ghost of Canterville may be considered laid to rest. The hearing is adjourned.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Tonight we have brought you The Canterville Ghost, a story originally written by Oscar Wilde and adapted for radio. In our play tonight, the Otis family was comprised of Jay Summerfield as Mr. Otis, Nell Brennan as Mrs. Otis. Their daughter Virginia was played by Donna Amesmeyer, and those two darling little boys, Pat and Mike, were real-life brothers, Dexter and Mercer Allendorfer. And they assured us they would never think of playing such pranks if given even half a chance. Right, boys? Just look at them. The mediator, that was Rob Humph. Mrs. Umbry was played by Sue Godzinski. And the ghost himself was none other than John Wirtz. Having a ball, throwing buckets and thunder around were the sound people. Helly Humph and Ellie Babka, and I remain yours truly, John P. Gelsomino, the announcer and the music maker. Stay tuned, won't you, tonight for another story that follows in our Halloween series. It's Alfred Hitchcock's The Lodger. Be afraid. Be very afraid.